Hello, and welcome to Meet the Author, a show where we explore the world through the imagination of talented writers. On this show, we will talk with authors from Laurel, Prince George's County, the DMV, and beyond. As a gifted storyteller, our guest author, Mrs. Kay Wise, uses her knowledge of scripture and her vivid imagination to tell the story of a young boy who navigates his own life challenges, all while having visions of problems in the lives of others. So let's find out more, and let's meet Mrs. Wise. Hi, nice to see you again.
It's delightful to see you. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Good. I'm glad you were able to make it. So we're just going to start with your background a little bit.
Okay.
You gave us your bio. So in your bio, you credit your parents with actually shaping you and helping tell your storytelling skills. So share with the viewers how you feel they did that for you.
Well, they set a foundation, first of all, of a household that was run with order and love, lots of love, respect. Those things that are important that as a child I didn't realize how important they are until I grew up and realized, oh, I need some of the stuff in my own household. But yeah, but there was a lot of fun. My dad was the storyteller of the house, and it was kind of funny because my brothers, as we got older, tried to out-storytell the storyteller. They just never could. My mom was kind of a stay-at-home mom, but she was a working mom. She wasn't like, Mrs. Cleaver or anything like that by any means.
Right.
Most of the viewers probably have no idea who Mrs. Cleaver is, but anyway. We just had a very happy, struggling, normal home. If I were to use a word to describe how I felt about my home, my family, I felt safe.
Okay.
And that's a blessing because I realized, that's not necessarily the case these days. But it was a good place. It was a good childhood, a good environment.
Okay, that's good. And that, like you said, helped shaped your writing and how you express yourself.
Exactly. We were a very musical family.
Okay.
My dad played piano. He was the choir master, or whatever the title was back in those days. My mom was not really musical, but she had a tremendous ability to write. She was also a writer. She wrote mostly letters, that sort of thing. And I have brothers and sisters who are very artistic, so they kind of ran through the bloodline, I think.
Okay, and so we have you written your book.
Yes.
And you mentioned that you have a website where you also write too. And you have a blog. You said it's written from the perspective of young people.
Exactly.
So tell us about that a little bit.
Well, blogging is something new to me.
Okay.
Like many things. What I wanted to do was give young people a safe place to not only read about things, situations, issues that are similar to their own, but to express how they feel about those. I have a little section after each blog, a comment section, that they can express themselves or not, whatever their choice may be. But I wanted to use language that was easy enough for them to understand, but not condescending.
Right.
And something that even adults could understand as well, or not simply understand, but also be comfortable in allowing their child or teen to read and to be a part of. So I really want young people to know that they have a voice, and this is a safe place for you to express your voice, because they don't always feel safe to do that.
And share with us your website where they can express themselves.
Thank you. The website is called beyondadream.life, and it is unique, I think. It expresses the kind of outlook I have on life, that is what we have inside of us is beyond even what we can dream. It's much bigger than us, much bigger than we are. And I want young people particularly to see that their dreams, their desires, the things that they have in their heart can grow beyond their dreams.
Okay. And I think you do a good job of that in your books also.
Thank you.
And we have a little background, little history.
Right.
So we attended church together, and we haven't seen each other for a while. But I was around you when you wrote your first book. So tell us a little bit about your first book, The Children's Kingdom. Okay.
That book started when I was living in Atlanta many years ago. I had many drafts. And I just felt like this is something I needed to do. I had never written a book before. I mean, I had written before because I used to write as part of my job at Georgia State University. I wrote helped write like the annual reports and things like that, and edited things for that particular job. But this was my first attempt at creative writing. I just kept feeling pressed I needed to write this book, and I believe it was in my heart the Spirit of the Lord pressing me to write. Now, I don't know if I did everything exactly the way He wanted me to do it, but I made the attempt. It was a fun adventure, I think, for me, because it gave me an opportunity to be a child in some ways.
Okay, that's always a good thing.
And I have a lot of kid in me. Even I'm, way past that age, or those decades. But I have a lot of that youthful spirit in me, and so I kind of had fun with some of the words and the scenes, some of the activities that this young man got himself into.
Okay.
And that was, I had a lot of fun with it. But yeah, this young boy, Peter, who is the main character, was 10 years old at the time. Okay. And he had a tremendous ability to imagine himself as being a warrior king, and he was going to be rich, and he wasn't going to be, like everybody else, and to the point where he even got himself into a little bit of trouble, as many 10-year-olds do, doing what his parents told him not to do. And the end result was he ended up falling, being rendered unconscious, and at this point of his unconsciousness, he had this fantasy dream about an angel that he encounters who takes him on a spiritual journey.
Okay, sounds good. And when did you write this book? Around what time frame?
Oh, I wrote this book before the year 2000. I'll just put it that way.
Okay.
Wrote the first drafts. I actually published it in 2011, I think it was, or 2012, somewhere around there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so More Than a Dreamer is like a second part to this?
Yes.
Okay. So let's talk about that a little bit. So Peter's in this second one also.
Yes.
And he has visions now.
Yes.
And where did the idea come from? So at first, in the first book, he was unconscious and he dreamed about being a warrior, you said?
Yes.
But this, he actually has visions from the Lord. So explain how that came about.
Okay, again, I think it's a combination of things. My own imagination, also the gift, I believe I have a gift of sorts, and inspiration, prayer, and the visions, I believe, were kind of, and the dreams were kind of like connected to his head trauma.
Okay.
I've heard reports, and I don't know if they're true, it could just be rumor, how people sometimes go through some kind of trauma and then they start having visions or, something similar to that. So it might have just been based upon my hearing something like that. I think it was just a combination of things. The imagination, the creativity, the idea that, God speaks to us in visions and dreams, and He doesn't restricted only to people who are Christians, I believe. Okay. So, yeah, and again, the idea was to have this young boy to be a character who has something of substance in him. He wasn't just a kid wanting his own way. He's a young man coming into his young manhood. And even as God used young kids back in Bible days, to do great things and things that we are amazed at today. He still does that today, I believe.
Cool. So he's a little bit older now. He's in middle school. And I just like to pick out parts of the book that kind of stood out to me.
Okay.
So this part was when he would go pray, there was a special place where he would go pray and hear from God. And it could have been anywhere, but you chose to have it at a rock outside.
Right.
So is there a significance with that, or why did you do that? Okay. I thought there might be.
Yeah, there's a couple of things, but the main thing, I guess, is I just love the outdoors.
Okay.
And his house was a small house that he lived in with his parents' house, I should say. And there was no privacy.
Okay.
So when they moved to this place, and there was this expanse of land and this rock and some water behind the property, he gravitated toward the rock. But also, Peter, the name Peter means rock, or stone, and of course Christ is the rock, the stone that the builders rejected. Okay. So that is all tied in together.
I thought it might have been. So I wanted to talk about that. Now, another thing that struck me in the book, there are quite a few issues that touched upon. So I read through it, but then when I went back, some of the issues were anger. Because when he started, I was like, Peter's really angry.
Yes.
And then his father was a little angry. Turning away from God, reconciliation, people had to come back together. Forgiveness, deception, bullying, sexual and physical abuse.
Yes.
So that's a lot to tackle in one book. So what made you decide to do
telling
it?
me? Yeah, well, I'm going to start with the first thing that you spoke of, anger. Yes, he was a very angry little boy. He picked up a lot of the anger that was in his dad and his mother. In the previous story, in The Children's Kingdom, they made some decisions that caused issues and problems in their lives. They did not make the best choices, and I think that's pretty common of us as human beings. We make choices that we don't always know what the consequences are going to be like, and then boom.
Right.
And then we have kids, or, you know, and then some of that stuff gets in them because of whether we're aware of it or not. Our behaviors are reflected in our children later on down the line because they pick up the same stuff that we pick up, you know, that we were involved with. So yeah, he was angry, but he tried to use that in a creative way by exploring things and imagining, I'm going to be rich. You know, he wanted to turn that into a constructive way. I think that happens with a lot of young people today. They're angry, they're hurt, they're scared. You know, they don't know, many of them, who they can trust.
Right.
They're rebellious. Well, who isn't? Who's not rebellious, right? But they have dreams. They want something better. And so a lot of times, unfortunately, as I said, they don't realize how great they are.
Right.
They don't realize that even the dream they have inside of them can be bigger. They can be bigger than anything that they even imagine.
Right.
So they turn to other sources. They turn to the media, they turn to their friends who are just as confused as they are. And so when they don't come up with the answers, they come up with answers that are harmful, they become stressed out. So I just wanted to put it out there.
Okay.
You know, we know that you children, you young people, young adults, you're dealing with this stuff. And I want to address it, but not in a preachy way, and not in a way that's condemning them, but just to let them know, you know, we are aware that of some of these things that are going on with you, and we want to, hopefully through this book, offer some opportunities for you to see that you can overcome some of this stuff. You may not be able to get all of it in one day, in one book, in one reading, but you can see yourself as, if you, you know, are willing to do some things to help yourself come out of that. And they need help, they need guidance, and hopefully, one of my hopes is that their parents, their guardians will also read the book and maybe have a dialogue with them about it. Because, you know, kids don't always have the resources within themselves. If they have a mentor or a parent or, you know, a friend, someone that's a little bit more mature that they can talk to, they can say, yeah, I read that, and yeah, I felt that, you know, I could identify with him feeling that way or that happening to that particular person. And I think I want it to be part of a conversation, a dialogue that might, you know, be between the young person and someone who can help them in their process.
I think that's a good way to start. And like you said, it's very well needed.
Yes.
We need to talk about it, deal with some things, and not keep it swept under the rug.
Exactly. Exactly.
So hopefully they will take you up on that and
hope so.
Open dialogue.
Yes.
So another thing that catches our eyes with books are covers and pictures and things like that. So tell us about the cover art for More Than a Dreamer. How did you come up with that?
Okay. Well, the idea originally was not mine. I have to give credit to my editor, my creative mentor. She was just such a jewel, and she still is. This woman named Keisha Rand. She's a minister of the gospel. She and her husband, Patrick, used to live in Laurel, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and they're still members of our church, but they moved to Detroit. So before the transition where they moved to Detroit, we were kind of, you know, deciding together how we want to present this final product. And she actually came back from Detroit, she and her husband, and took some pictures. Those are her sneakers.
Okay.
And she presented different things to me. I said, I really like that cover, and I like it because all kids relate to sneakers, you know? And in addition to that, the young person is standing in an environment that's rocky.
Okay.
It's a little, it doesn't look too stable. But I think it also suggests, what on earth is that? Whose feet are those? And why are they standing in that place?
Okay.
And what does that mean? I wanted to generate some questions in the young person's mind. I wanted them to be curious about it.
Okay.
And sometimes if you're curious about what's on the inside, outside, you might take a peek on the inside.
That's
So
exactly what you'll do.
that's what I wanted.
Okay, well that's good because I did have a question. I had those same questions, so it's good that you brought that up. And then also about the pictures and the inside. So they're placed intermittently.
Right.
So what was the purpose for that?
I wanted to give a sense of expansion. I'm an outdoors person.
Okay.
I like the outdoors. Also, I wanted I wanted the reader to be able to continue to connect with the idea of openness, expansion, remembering again that Peter lived in this little house in Georgia, and he's also an outdoors person. He likes to be outside and so on. So I like the idea of portraying openness, not only expansion of the outdoors, but expansion of the indoors, what's inside the heart.
Oh, that's cool, because it's funny that I just peeped that out when I was reading it. I was like, why is this picture here? Why is this picture here? So I'm glad that I get the opportunity to ask and you can share and let people know. You know, there's a method to the madness, right? We don't just throw
it's not just
together.
stuff in there.
It's for a reason. That's pretty cool. Okay.
One of the things I wanted to do is have people to become curious about why this is here. And I don't understand that. And what's that all about? You know, that kind of, I think, helps to spark conversation and interest.
Okay. I think it does a good job.
Thank you.
And like I mentioned to you, like you don't have a subject for the book, title or anything for the book, but I dubbed it Christian fiction. And I said I hope that was appropriate.
That's absolutely appropriate.
So when I researched and looked up Christian fiction, I read that you should tell a great story first, and then you add the themes as the story and the characters develop. Now, is that the way you wrote the book, or did you approach it a little bit differently?
Well, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I had no idea what I was doing.
I do that.
So I could, try to sound deep, but I'm not a deep person.
Okay.
I just went with what I felt was the thing to do. I was always prayerful about it.
Okay.
Many times I would sit at my computer and just say a short prayer. I said, okay, here we go. And I just start typing stuff. But central, I do hope it is a good story, a great story. Essential to this story, this great story, is the idea that young people have power. Their voices are powerful before God when they pray. So I could not really shape it separately, the Christian theme or Christian action separately from the heart of the book, because the prayer is the heart of the book. Peter is very close to that heart, but to me, the core, the very foundation of it is empowering young people, giving them understanding that they can be empowered through their voice, and they don't have to be geniuses, they don't have to be great spiritual heroes, they don't have to be a David, and they don't have to be a Joseph, they don't have to be a Mary. Just be who you are.
Right.
Know that your voice is important to God. He hears, he listens, he answers, maybe not in the way we want him to.
Right, of course not.
But he is aware, and the whole, as I said, the heart of the whole book is young people being able to express themselves, to come of age in prayer, if I can use that term. Okay. Because we all need to grow up. And one of the best ways I know to grow up is to grow up spiritually strong.
Okay.
Okay.
But that works. And then, so that takes us into, I guess my next question was your ultimate reason for writing this book. And I guess we kind of talked about that throughout the evening. You want to empower the children, make sure they have a voice. That seems to be very important to you.
And I want to reiterate that, because even though we've said it, I don't think it can be said too much. I don't know how many young people, let me just say it this way. Growing up in church, I don't remember seeing a whole lot of young people praying. Okay. I've been a Christian for well over 30 years. And when I see, someone saying to a kid, hey, little Johnny, why don't you pray for us? Well, the little kid might do it because they're kind of they're not as self-conscious. But you ask a teenager to do that and see
yeah.
what happens.
And me,
Not me. No.
looking around.
You know,
for
they're
someone else
not.
to
They
do
don't
it.
want to do that. They feel intimidated. They lack confidence. They're afraid they're going to be mocked, or their friends are going to, you know, mess with them later on, tease them later on. So the idea that if they are taught this, if it's imparted to them, hopefully from a young age, but if not as a young age, you know, you can still grow into it, then they will start to realize their power. I think young people need to realize their power. We all do. And sometimes it's not so easy when you're younger because, you know, you're worried about what other people think of you. Is my hair right? Is my something too big, the other thing too small?
Right.
That's a lot of pressure. However, I believe if you can find your voice and articulate that, it doesn't have to be fancy.
Right.
You're going to make mistakes. I make them all the time. I've learned to embrace my mistakes.
I know that's
They're my friends. I
received
love
that
how
too.
I can, you know, you put it on my age. Oh, I'm just a senior. I don't, you know, I use that sometimes when it's convenient.
Right.
But yeah, it's just important, I believe. And I have such a passion for this. And this is surprising to me because I really didn't think I liked teenagers that much.
I know, right?
I like them better now as I'm learning more about,
Okay.
you know, what they go through. But I have a strong heart's desire to see them succeed and to see them confident and to see them happy.
Right.
You know, that's what I hope for.
And safe. I like the word you used earlier. Make them feel safe
Yes,
and empowered. I
to
like
be
those
safe.
words.
That's a wonderful feeling. I remember that so vividly as a child, being able to, I came from a very humble background, country, remote country, very remote country, West Virginia country, okay? A village, actually. It was a village. And I could walk anywhere at any time, at any age. I never worried about anyone bothering me. No one dare bother me. But even if in that community, it was very close-knit. Everybody literally knew each other because we were all, connected. Our parents were coal miners and domestic workers and things like that. So we literally had to rely on each other in order to survive. And so that part of the struggle I didn't know about, but I knew about the freedom. I knew about the feeling safe. I knew about the good food and the laughter and all that. And I don't want anyone to experience that level of poverty, but I sure would love for them to be able to experience the feeling of safety.
And freedom. That would be nice. So yeah, you cover a couple of different issues. You do that very well with your storytelling. So I hope people will pick up the book and facilitate some discussion around the different issues.
I hope so. And I thank you so much for this platform. This is a blessing, and I'm really grateful that you're willing to offer this.
Okay.
And
Glad
hopefully
you came out.
it will make a difference in someone's life. That's my heart is not only for others, but even in my own family. You know, I have young folks in my family.
Right.
And as I get older, I realize how important legacy is to me. I don't have a lot of money. I don't have a lot of wisdom, but I do have a heart. And I want to be able to express that in such a way that, you know, when I've gone to my reward, someone will say, remember Aunt Kay wrote that book? And I read it, and it made me think about some things, and
Share what
hopefully
you
other
have.
children as well.
Share what you have. Great. So I just wanted to close up with, I like to talk about the mechanics of writing books so
Okay.
people get that understanding of a little bit too.
Sure.
So when I looked at it, I saw that your first book was published by someone different than your second book. So can you explain that process for publishing your books?
Well, the process was horrible.
It's like, uh-oh.
But maybe I shouldn't have said that. I had the misfortune of with the first book, contracting with a company that wasn't too scrupulous, I think. That was my fault because I should have done more research. Not only that, they went bankrupt. So
I've heard about that from another company. too.
gratefully, I was able to get all my stuff, you know, my copyrighted stuff, and I
Okay.
didn't have to worry about that process. But yeah, that was pretty painful.
Okay. So the publisher you have now, you're happy, pleased
Yes,
with you?
I still have contact with the woman who is my editor. Sincere Ministries is the name of their company that does the publish. She has written several books herself, and she's a woman of God, and we've developed a good relationship as a result of this. She has really pulled a lot of stuff out of me that I didn't know had inside of me, and I was like, wow, I didn't know I could do that. But she helped me to see that I could.
Did she pull another book out of you? Are you going to write some more?
I'm in a little hiatus right now, but I do intend to make a sequel to this one, write a sequel to this one. And then I'd like to do maybe a book of short stories. Okay. But I can't really say when that's going to happen yet.
No rush. Just let us know.
Okay.
Be happy to share that.
Okay. Thank you.
So just want to mention a couple of the events that you've done, like on your website. You have listings of some book signings. Would you like to share some of those?
Well, sure. I have a couple of upcoming events I'd like to talk about. Okay. There's an event in Arlington, Virginia called, I hope I'm saying this right, Ujamaa. It's a festival. It's an annual festival there, and it's the last Saturday of this month, March 30th. I'm not going to do book signing there, but I will be there because I need to network. Okay. Not my strong suit. I need to push myself to get out there more. And since the weather's getting warmer, I'm more likely. And one of the big things I'm excited about, upcoming trip, is to Australia at the end of this year. Okay. Cool. I'm going to try real hard to make that a book tour. Okay. Because actually it's something that was kind of sprung on me. I said, why not? Right. Why not Australia?
Exactly. Why not?
So.
Now, was the Virgin Islands on there? Did I see
the Virgin Islands was on there. I'm afraid that's not going to happen this year.
Oh, okay.
But But I do hope to go to Puerto Rico, so I can, do something with that too. Okay. Fair enough.
So we'll take a look. Is that all that listed on your website?
The one about Ujamaa is not Australia and not Puerto Rico. Okay. But I am willing to talk with anybody if they want to. My website has my email on there. Okay. I don't have a phone number on there, but I do have my email, and I'm very good about getting in touch with people if they leave a message or if they have anything that they need to go over with me.
Okay. So Children's Kingdom is on Amazon, right?
Yes, it's still on Amazon. It's I'm not sure how many copies are available at Amazon, but it's available on my website.
Okay, so both let them know your website again and how they can reach you and your books.
Beyond a Dream. Your website is beyondadream.life. Thank you.
Did you want to say your website, your email address?
Yes, my email is above@beyondadream.life.
All right, so hopefully we'll get more interest in your books. We look forward to hearing more from you, and good luck with your tours and everything.
Oh,
so thank you. Let me know how that goes.
I will. I'll be delighted to. Thank you so much.
Okay, well, thanks for seeing you again. Glad you can make it.
Thank you. Likewise.
Okay, we'll be right back. More Than a Dreamer is a fiction Christian book about a young boy who has visions and how he uses prayer to navigate tough problems in his own life and those around him. It is a fictional story in addition to strong biblical principles to tackle different issues such as anger, bullying, forgiveness, and abuse in a way that makes it easy to understand and talk about. So it would be a great way to facilitate discussion of these topics for families. Cover art and internal pictures. When you think of these things, there are a couple of sayings that do come to mind, like you can't judge a book by its cover, and a picture is worth 1,000 words. Now the first I may have to disagree with, but the second one is pretty accurate because a powerful image on the cover can do a lot to help sell and promote your book. You have to make sure it accurately depicts what the book is about. Photographs and images can paint the picture of your story and add interest, clarity, and excitement to your book. So don't take these items for granted and make sure you are careful when selecting which ones to use. For your book is your masterpiece and you want to make it stand out as such. I would like to thank Ms. Wise for joining me today. Ms. Wise does a great job of telling stories and using appropriate scripture to discuss important, relevant topics. We wish her much success with her future endeavors. If you're an author and would like to be featured on our program, you can send an email to cmjohnson@laurel.md.us or call 301-725-5300, extension 2110. We would love to have you on the show. I'm Christine Johnson, reminding you to open a book and let it take you on your next adventure.